What is up, everybody? It's your boy back with another reaction video, and I will be reacting to Disturbing True Movie Theater Stories Volume 2. This is from Mr. Nightmare. So I will put a link in the description down below so you can go check out the video yourself. Nice full screen you like. Go check out some of his other videos too. He has really good horror narrations. One of the bigger YouTubers that does that out there. Movie theater. I always like to try to make some connection to my life in these things. Trying to think back, did I ever have like a really? I never had like something happen, like someone was chasing me, anything like that. I do remember because I used to love going to movie theaters by myself when when I knew no one was gonna be in the theater. Like I say like around actually in my late teens and early 20s, I would go to a movie theater. Like I knew on my day off, and my days off back then. What was I working? I think I was working at UPS. Um, my days off were it was I think it was Thursday and Friday, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a long time. That was like 2007. But yeah, my days off were like Thursday and Friday, so I would go uh to the theater. Plus, I work nights, so I could still go during the day if I wanted to. But I would go to the theater early, I would like midday, something like that. And but I knew no one was gonna be in there, and it would be just me. One particular time, I went in, and I always sit like way at the top, almost something tucked off in the corner, like on the top right side of the theater. And because the day theater kind of went up, like kind of like a arena, and which I used to Oklahoma. They had those flat ones. The old theater had like all the seats were like flat. Then they had a balcony. All the seats were like the seats kind of went like a theater. But anyway, I was sitting there. I heard the door open because the movie had just started, but it just so happened to be a part where it wasn't any sound at that moment. I heard the door open. I was like, "Fuck, somebody." I don't know why. I'm the only one in the theater. One other person is not gonna. It's not like a whole rush of people. So come in and I'm gonna get crowded. It's like one person came in, and of course it was like pretty dark. So when they walked in, they sat. They looked up, and I know they locked eyes on me. What at least they saw me. They locked eyes because I was pretty far back. They they looked at me in the eye, and they stopped a second and like stared at me for about I don't know, like 5 seconds. Cause I think they were like trying to see if it was an actual person. And then the light, I remember the light came up on the scene. And I'm sure they could clearly see me. So then they sat down anyway. They sat down. Uh, it was somewhere up front. And then I kind of just forgot about it and was sitting there watching the movie. I looked down and they were gone from the spot they were at. And I was like, huh, they're gone. And I just thought, I said, maybe they got up and left and I just didn't hear them because at that point in the movie, it was, I don't know, like what movie was it? Was it Taken? No, I wasn't Taken. I saw Taken when I was living in Oklahoma. I don't remember what movie it was, but anyway, they were gone. And then I noticed after like I think like I don't know like maybe 10, 15 minutes went by, something like that. I noticed that they had moved further up, so they were a little bit closer to me, but not like it wasn't like all of a sudden they were like in the same row. It was like I think they had moved from where they were at because I thought it was weird. So who sits like right up? Like they would have about 3 rows back from the screen. I was like, I hate sitting that close to the screen. So I'm like, who sits like that? Unless you absolutely have to. But they were about I don't know, probably like another 3 or 4 rows away. So they were like, 6 or 7 rows from the front now. That's how they moved. And they did move closer to the middle. So they were sitting on the end of the row. Now they're sitting like more in the middle of that row. And I was like, okay. And, and then I'm sitting watching the movie. And the movie is going on. And then it went off. And the lights came up. Now, that person was still in a seat that had moved up. There was another person that was 2 rows, like I think it was 2 or 3 rows in front of me that stood up when the lights came on. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I know. Like, cause I would have noticed. Like, I don't like lose myself in a movie like that. Even in a theater where I don't notice someone that close to me coming up. You know what I mean? Like, even that, even on the other side of the theater, like they were like, there's like 2 or 3 rows in front of me. In like they were like right in the middle of the row, so that they was pretty close. And I'm like, what? I was, what the fuck that? And they just got up. Now they were wearing all black, but still, I'm like, and they got up and just and walked out. Like it wasn't like it wasn't anything scary and like disappear or the lights came on. They were just staring at me. Some shit. It wasn't anything insane like that. But it's like I was like, I know for a fact there was nobody sitting there. I know there was nobody sitting. Because for one thing, I came because I always get to theaters early. One thing I came, the lights were still on, and I looked around, and no one was in there. And I walked up, and I always walk up, and I just happen to look down. Rose, I don't know why I do that. I'm not looking for anything. I just always look down. So he wasn't anybody. He wasn't laying on the floor, I'm like, and I'm just like, did I miss him? Did he like? Because I was like, maybe I didn't hear the door open because it was like if he came in way later when the movie had already started getting louder. I was like, maybe he walked in. I didn't hear the door obviously open. But I said, did he like crawl on the floor or something? Because he wasn't short either. He's probably like my height, like 6'2". Like he was over 6. He was over 6 foot. And I was like, where the fuck did he come from? I walked up to like I like paused for a second, and I watched him like walk down and leave, and then the other person was still sitting there, even when I was leaving. They were still sitting. They were on their phone, and I was like, "What the?" They were like on like a flip phone or something. Cause I remember saying that's what they flip. I remember that they flip phone kind of like mine back then, but that white flip phone, and I was I walked out and I didn't cause that person was already gone. But I was like, what the hell? I didn't even see him in the parking lot either. So he might have just walked out. Cause some people would walk to that theater as well. But yeah, that was one of the only things that I can remember that really just made me pause. I was like, where the fuck did that person come from? And I'm like, I know they weren't in there when I came in there. And I'm like, how'd they get that close to me? And I didn't see him. And he was sitting there the whole time, apparently. And I still I didn't, like how did I see him? They also they had they were dressed in all black and they had their hood up. So I was like, maybe I just didn't. I said maybe it was fucking ninja. I don't. But yeah, I mean, I remember one time somebody popped fireworks in the theater, and everybody ran out because they thought it was a shooting. Because this was after the Aurora shooting, so someone thought this shit was funny, and they because I didn't see the actual fireworks, I'm thinking they might have just walked in at the door and just threw some fireworks like at the door and like pop, 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 and people start panicking and running, and some people like knowing like that. trampled to death. But some people like was running over people trying to get out and stuff like that. And they ended up, what happened? Because I ended up just leaving after that. I was like, you know what? I was just like, I'm not in the mood for this. So I was like, I don't know, like I don't think that shit's funny, and I just left. So I don't know if they called the person or what have you, but I ain't even asked for a refund. I just left because the movie, if I remember correctly, the movie hadn't even started. It was like the beginning trailers at the beginning. Someone did that, but anyway, let's get into this. Here we go.
This took place back when the first Insidious movie came out.
That
My friend Charlie
looked
and I
like
went
an
to see
old
the 10
theater in
p.m. screening
Mississippi
of
I
it
used
at
to
one
go
of our
to.
local movie theaters. The theater we went to went out of business years ago, likely due to the fact that it didn't get enough business. I say that because every time we went there, the theater was completely dead, aside from maybe 3 or 4 other people at most. This night was no exception. Besides Charlie and I, there were 2 other people in the theater, one somewhat larger woman and one scrawny man about 5'7". During the previews before the movie, the man kept getting up and switching seats. It immediately struck us
I've
as
seen
bizarre.
people do that. They keep getting
Every
up,
time
switching
he'd get
seats.
up, he'd look around the room and even look at Charlie and I for a few seconds every time.
I never.
Eventually, he
thought
walked over to
anything
the
of it.
woman a few seats down from him and started speaking to her in a whisper. She said something back to him that we couldn't hear. Then he said sorry and walked away from her to sit at the last seat in the aisle. He was just 2 aisles down from us. Eventually, the movie started, and the opening scene to the movie was a bit scary. It was followed by this loud, scary violin sound. We noticed the guy 2 aisles down shaking his head, and he muttered something. Then he turned around at us and climbed up to our aisle and sat down 2 seats from me. He asked if it's okay he sat there, and I nodded.
Okay.
He said thank you really loud, and I noticed the woman in front of us turned around to look. Charlie and I looked at each other nervously. As the movie went on, he was quiet after the opening
He
scene,
asked her to sit
until
next
the
to
next
her.
time
She
a
said
scary
no.
scene came up. He moved to the seat directly next to me and once again asked if it's okay. I don't know why, but I nodded again. I guess because I recognized he may have had a disability or something. He went
What
quiet
kind of
again when the
disability?
scary scene ended. But at the next jump scare, he grabbed a hold of my arm and pressed his head into my shoulder. I shook my arm to get him off and
The
said,
fuck?
"Dude, get off me." He apologized and said he's just really scared. I looked at him and he just scared me. He seemed off, way off. He told me he would stop and he apologized again. But when another scary scene came up, he grabbed my arm again. This time he started rubbing my arm a little.
Oh boy, here we
I told
go.
him to stop again. Then Charlie and I got up and walked to a different aisle. The
Pervert.
woman in the theater got up and left. I'm guessing because she was uncomfortable.
She's
We
alright.
were in our new
I'm done with
seats.
this.
He turned
She
to
did
look
what
at
I
us
would have
for a
done.
while.
I'm leaving.
We tried our best to ignore it, but it was too much. We got up and started walking out of the theater. He got up as well, asking where we're going.
Oh,
and then he asked
none
if
of
he
your
could take us
fucking
out for
business.
dinner. Charlie said, "Nah, man, we're good, thanks." And we walked out. We walked through the empty movie theater hall and heard the
Take
door to
you
the
out
room
for
we were just in
dinner.
click open. We turned around and there was the guy, peeking his head out from the door. When he realized we saw him, he went back into the room. Charlie and I walked faster now to the lobby and told the girl at the front desk about the creepy man making everyone uncomfortable. She gave us a refund because the woman before us also complained about him. We then left and started walking to Charlie's house, hitting his vape pen
I'm
and just
surprised they
talking about
didn't.
how weird and
Somebody
creepy
didn't
that
come in
was.
there and look for
We
that
were
guy. Tell him
somehow
to
able to
leave.
laugh about it, even though we were also pissed that we just left the movie halfway through. On our walk home, we both stopped when we heard a rustle in a bush about 10 feet from us and a muffled little laugh sound. Charlie pointed to a bush in front of a house, and we could see that man from the theater creepily poking his head out from a bush. He asked, "Where are you guys going?" He said it with his tone
None of
that
your
said
fucking
everything
business.
to us,
So
that we
we
needed to
going.
run. We sprinted all the way down the street till I felt like I was gonna throw up. Luckily at that point, Charlie's house was right there. We weren't being followed anymore. He looked weak and probably not fast anyway, but we weren't risking getting shot or stabbed.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Something was very off about that
something.
man. Maybe he was drugged out, or
Don't
maybe
matter
he
if he
belonged in a
weak.
mental
About a
hospital.
knife
I'm glad we decided
or
to
a
run.
gun. Those are the great equalizers.
I don't care if anyone judges me, but I like to go to the movie theaters alone.
Hey,
My work schedule's all over the place. I often don't work weeknights.
I like going
So
by
on a
myself too.
stormy Wednesday
Fuck
night, a
everybody
night not
else.
many other people would be thinking to go drive to a movie theater, I did just that. I always like avoiding crowds in anything I do. That's just how I am.
Especially movie
It was
theaters.
2017. I went to see some low-key movie that probably wasn't at the top of most people's must-see movie lists. I was the only one in the theater, just like I expected. I sat myself right in the center seat of one of the higher-up rows and put my feet up on the seat in front of me. About 20 minutes into the movie, I'd say, I noticed someone a few aisles down. I didn't notice them coming in. The theater was dark because the scene in the movie at the time was in a dark room.
I didn't see it. I
They
didn't notice the
weren't
guy
sitting
coming
in a seat like a normal person, though. All I saw of them was the top half of their head, peering over one of the seats to be looking in a direction that definitely was not the screen. It was still too dark to be able to tell if they were looking directly at me or not, but when the scene changed to a brighter background, the whole theater got brighter. Bright enough to see they were looking basically at me, but their face was so pale and lifeless looking,
Noise.
and their hair messy and wiry looking. I couldn't even tell if it was a man or a woman. I'm an introvert, or just an awkward person, so I didn't really want to ask if there was something wrong. I viewed that as confrontation. The screen went darker again.
Shit,
and
I'm
at
an
the same
introvert
time,
too, but
the
I
person
probably
lowered
like,
down
I'd
behind the
been
chair
like
completely until I couldn't see them anymore.
non-verbal.
They were
but
completely
just,
hidden from my view.
What?
I couldn't concentrate on the movie now, though. I was actually very uncomfortable. Actually quite terrified. I didn't get up, though. I stayed put in my seat. Many scenes in the movie passed. I almost forgot about what happened. Almost. Just when I was getting back into the movie, the person's head appeared from behind a seat again. This time much closer, only like 3 rows of seats away from me. I actually let out a holy shit and a loud yell because it genuinely made me jump. Now I was able to see more detail or features in their face. They actually looked lifeless. Their eyes, motionless, hung open.
It's a fucking
Still,
zombie.
I somehow couldn't tell if they were looking directly at me or not. Now I could better see it was a man with long, unkempt hair. I noped the F out of my seat and down the row to the exit. I had to pass the row in which the person was in to get to the exit door. As I passed the row, I looked down it, and while I expected to see the rest of the person's body sitting hunched behind the seats, instead what I saw was something you'd see in a nightmare.
Oh, was it a
There
head?
was some guy basically laying on the floor, holding up a severed head perched on a stick.
Oh.
I didn't stick around to see if it was some sick joke or if the head was real or not. I
Yeah,
ran for it through the
why
exit
would
door,
you?
and I ran
Let
out
me
of the back exit
investigate.
of the building
Check
to the
see if
parking
it's
lot.
real.
I drove home in a panic, heart racing. That head looked so real. I got home and did some research about possible recent murders or missing people.
Even
in
if
the
it
area,
wasn't real,
and I
that's
found
still
something.
creepy and like
After
you need
browsing
to
a list of
leave.
missing people in the area, I found the picture of a 17-year-old boy named Donald Watkins who had gone missing a month prior. And based on the picture I found, his face could have matched the head I saw in that theater. Of course, that could be my brain trying to connect any similarities. But the hair, the nose, the eyes, they looked like they could actually be a match. The next day, I simply made a call to the theater and told them the story and suggested they check their cameras and see if anything strange came up. I gave them my number to reach me if they needed to, but I never heard from them. I chose to not spend any more of my
They
time
probably
on it.
didn't even check this. Okay. I was like, if that was the previous night, they're like, well, shit, I don't know. You think they let the police know if they caught the person on
I
camera?
worked at a movie theater in Cobb County, Georgia, called the Regal at Estelle. It was a very relaxed atmosphere because it's a quiet town and a quiet movie theater usually. Some weekends it would be busy, especially for big blockbuster movies. This happened on a slow night.
Damn,
I
bubble
was
in my
working the
throat.
graveyard shift. The theater was doing a midnight screening for some underground scary movie that no one really cared about. A few people actually paid to go see it. Obviously, this meant I'd have to stay till the movie was over so I could clean and close up. Past midnight, the theater was always basically dead. The phone at the front ticket desk was ringing, so I went from the concession counter to the front desk to answer it. After saying hello twice, some creepy, distant-sounding voice asked me what time we're open till.
I'd have been like, we're closed now.
Around 2 a.m., he said, "I'll see you soon." I opened my mouth and went, I didn't actually know what to say. To just scroll on Instagram and other time waster apps on my
Quiet Place. They say Dead. Is that Deadpool too?
phone. Then the phone rang again.
Oh,
I didn't want to answer it because I somehow knew it would be that guy again. No one calls a movie theater that late. Still, I went to answer it. Like the first time, I didn't get a response till the second hello, and it was the same guy. He said into the phone, "I'm on my way."
who calls a movie theater
I replied,
nowadays?
"Sir, the
Anyway?
movie already started.
You
There's
could
no
just
point in
check
coming now. I
they
won't even be able to give you a ticket this late."
the
He
times
hung up.
online.
This had to be a joke. Possibly one of my friends. The voice just didn't sound familiar at all. As the movie was
A lot of
nearing
that
its
shit is
end, I started
automated.
vacuuming the lobby and
Even
halls, then went to cleaning the bathroom.
decades ago.
As I was cleaning the bathroom, someone came in and went to one of the stalls. That meant the movie was likely over, so I stopped cleaning to go back to the counter. People were on their way out, so yes, the movie was over. I waited till everyone was gone, then locked the door. All I had left to do was clean the theater, which wasn't a big job because there were so few people in there. I brought the broom in there and scanned the aisles for trash. There was a little popcorn here and there and some wrappers. It would have been a quick cleanup, but I didn't finish it. I heard this freakish giggle sound. My head jerked to the left to look down the aisles of seats.
Wow.
"Is someone there?" I asked. I hurried out of the theater with a broom and scooper, ready to use the broom as a weapon.
Yeah, at least you got the broom.
And as I was back in the lobby, the phone rang again. It was like perfect timing.
Police, like, the
I
call
ran
is
to
coming
answer
from
it, and without
inside
saying
the
anything
theater.
this time, the voice said, "Why'd you leave the theater?"
Oh boy.
I hung it up and called the police, asking them to just get here fast.
This is somebody who
I
wants
waited in my
this
car
dude
until they
specifically.
arrived, then told them about the calls and the laugh in the theater room. The police asked me to calm down and check the number from which he was calling and see if I recognized
Calm
it.
down, like you
So
calm
I went to the
down.
call history on the phone, got the number, and put it into my phone. And it was the number for one of my close friends, Joe Peterson. That explained it. He was just messing with me. The cops laughed about it, and after I assured them I was all right, they left.
Okay, this is
I didn't want Joe to get in trouble. I went back in the theater room calling for him.
Dude, just
I called
prank,
for him
bro.
throughout the whole building, but he didn't answer. It seemed he left.
I'd have beat
I
Joe's
texted
ass.
him and tried calling him, all ignored. I went home after locking the place up. The next day I went to his house just to talk to him because it seemed he was ignoring me.
Joe's been
He
missing.
told me he lost his phone,
Oh.
that he thinks it was stolen by someone at the bar. He didn't have Find My iPhone enabled, so he couldn't even track it or disable it. I couldn't sleep for nights, worrying that I was followed home by whoever had his phone. Being one of Joe's female friends, whoever stole his
Oh, it was
phone
a
must have
woman.
went through our conversations and gotten enough info to know where I worked. That horrifies me. I requested to my boss to stop doing the late night shifts for that reason. I didn't work there much longer though. If anything else ever happens, I'd update. But it's already been
A
more
lot
than
of
a
these
year.
people, they end up quitting. Like, they're like, I didn't work there for much longer though, or I quit right there on the spot. I mean, if somebody did some shit like that to me, I'd probably be like, yeah, I think I'm gonna find a job somewhere else. Cause whoever did that, like when people put that much effort into something, looking for you and calling you and showing up to the theater, I'm guessing they didn't lock the doors, which is funny because, like, I've been to theaters, and even theaters in rural areas. When it's the last, because I've been to a lot of movies where it's the last showing of the night. When you leave out, that they have the door where you can open it. It's like kind of like a hotel door. You open it, but when it closes, it locks from there, so you can't come back in. And unless I don't know what kind of theaters that this person got in or what have you, but yeah, she was smart. She left. It wasn't like, let me investigate. Like, that's what annoys me when I see people. What was that? And they go looking and shit. I'm like, if I hear something, if I'm in a place and it's just supposed to be me there, like I said, it's like these small rural places where you're like usually the person who works the concession stand also cleans the theater, usually in those like like small areas. We had little theaters, and you know you're the only person supposed to be in there. The projectionist is gone or whatever, and everyone else is gone, and you're there because you're cleaning up, and then you leave, and you hear something like it is time to leave. Like it's if you hear something, it's like go to your car, lock the door, and call the police. I'm gonna call my boss. Like, what the fuck your boss gonna do? Like, call the police. And in this situation, uh, she checked and it was it was her. Someone stole her friend's phone and then went through all this. Like, when someone go through all that, I'm like, that person is going to try to kidnap me. You go through all that. You don't go through all that just to scare somebody, unless, well, I guess nowadays you could somebody have some prank channel, but even at like late at night doing this, laughing like a fucking witch in the theater. Like, no. That person is about to kidnap you, and you are about to have a very short life. When they get done doing whatever they gonna do to you. Like, no. But yeah, just I'm trying to think, because I've had a bunch of issues in theaters where people piss me off. Like, people start vaping in the goddamn, or even just smoking. Like, when I was in Oklahoma, someone just literally just slid up a cigarette and just started smoking. I've been in theaters where I've smelled weed and stuff like almost all the time, but people this dude just literally lit up and just started just smoking right next to me because it was assigned seating. And he just started just smoking. I'm just like, really? And I'm like, and it's funny because I didn't say anything because I'm just like, because I've been around plenty of people who smoke, so it doesn't really bother me. Plus, my mom used to smoke when I was a kid, so it doesn't bother me when people smoke. Because I used to smoke. I mean, I didn't smoke cigarettes, I smoked blacks, but I only did that when I drank. But it didn't bother me. It's just that, wow, in a theater, like in a in an enclosed place, and a bunch of other people in here, you're just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna start smoking. And luckily, one of the what's it called, ushers, I think, he just happened to walk up, because in that particular theater, they'll just walk up and walk all the way to the top of the stairs, and then kind of just look and make sure like no one's, I think they were, I don't know, they were doing, make sure people weren't recording the the movie with their phones and nothing like that, and I guess make sure no one's doing anything stupid. And saw him, and then he told him that he had to leave, and he was there with his girlfriend, and the dude started making a scene, and of course the usher comes in and walks in front of me because the sign seat was right next to me, and they in front of me while I'm trying to watch the movie, and he arguing with the usher and shit, talking about something he paid his ticket, so he like, dude, just because you paid to be in here, that don't mean you get to just do whatever the hell you want. You can't come in here and just start smoking. Like, and there's plenty of no smoking signs, which is, you would think nowadays would be obvious that you can't just smoke in buildings anymore. Not like this is in the fucking 80s, and they arguing right from. I'm just like really. Luckily, it wasn't like packed in there. It was kind of like, people like spotty all over. So I ended up getting up and just moving to a couple seats over, because it was weird too. Because they got the assigned seating. I had my seat, and this couple, like the guy was smoking, his girlfriend sat right next to me. So I'm like, oh, this is weird. I said, all these seats taken, the people just didn't show up. I said, that's not very likely. But I get it, and then he's arguing, and then I swore he said something because the guy got real pissed off, and I don't know if he said something racist, because the guy, the usher, was like he was Asian, and I don't know, because he got pissed, like he was like, "What you say?" You know, it's like, don't you ever call me that again. I was like, oh, he's like, get out. He's like, get out of here now. You like, get out if I call her. He's like, threatening to call the police. And then him and his girlfriend, the dude took his cigarette and just flung it down the other seat. I was like, wow, this dude is such a piece of shit. And that was like kind of like the thing where I start really disliking going to theaters. I mean, like I said, I like going to theaters when it's usually just me in there, and I tolerate a few other people, but I don't like packed theaters. I hate going to theaters on opening day. I've gone like with friends where they want to go on the weekend, open the weekend, and I hate that. I go because I'm like, it's about being with my friends, not necessarily watching a movie. But a lot of times I would end up, if it's a movie I was really interested in, I would go see that movie on my own, like during the week or something. Like at night, no, because I work, especially when I was in the military, I had to go to work. Um, Work Mondays through Fridays, so I go like I don't know, Wednesday or sometime during the week, and I just go. I was like, oh, I can go and watch this movie. This movie's like 2 hours or something, and it starts at 10. I say get home. I said, well, it ends at 12. So I usually don't even go to get tired and fall asleep until like 1. So I was like, by the time I get home, I can just go to sleep. But yeah, that was another time I was got in a fight. I was when I remember I saw the Matrix in there. I was living in Mississippi, and it was packed in there. And I don't know, I went on Saturday, but that was kind of before I started my wanting to go to theaters by myself type thing, and with no one else in there, and it was packed, and I found a seat luckily because I got there, and a bunch of people I guess had the same idea to get there early, and it was packed in, so I had to go sitting like kind of in the middle all the way, and I normally like sitting on the edge, but I like sitting on the edge in the aisle, but I had to sit in this theater. It went to the wall. The rows, they were like in rows, and they went all the way up against the wall. So it was like a big aisle down the middle and chairs on the side, rows of chairs on the side. So all the chairs on the end ended up against the wall. And I'm just sitting there. A fight randomly broke out. And thinking about it, because I was really into that movie. I think it was a scene when uh, uh, Hugo Weaving was talking to Morpheus. And he was like, when he was tired of when they had him captured, and all of a sudden someone just falls over me, and it was like a girl was sitting next to me. I didn't know these people, and he it's like someone threw him, and he rolled over. He kind of like rolled off my shoulder, and but completely rolled over her. And I was like, what? And I stood up, and then all of a sudden people just start pushing her, and I looked, and I'm trying to help. Like I let make sure the girls are right. I'm trying to help the guy up. The guy like jumps up and he pushes me. Like he pushed me. I remember my back hit up against the wall, and I ended up pushing him. Yeah, it was just like a reaction. And then people just start, and we kind of get like in a show, but then he jumped back over the thing because I guess he realized, he just heated. I guess he realized I'm not. I don't know if he thought the person he was because it was a guy. I don't know if he thought he jumped over after him or something. I was like, why would he help you up? And then he just start stomping you. Cause they start brawling. People start hitting each other. Somehow they stopped the movie because I remember the movie just stopped and then the lights came off. And they had, and in that theater, it was like an old couple running it because it was like an old. Sometimes be the husband's gonna be the wife at the front when you buy tickets, And so no one, so they weren't gonna, they ain't have any security at that time. This when they someone was bought like years later, like I don't know, it was a company or but they had like this big ass black security guard. He about 6'8" or some shit. But they called the police, and it's a small town. The police department was literally like down the street, so it take them no time to get there. And they had that, so at the police, and then they made. It's funny because I thought they were gonna just make everyone leave, but no, they made they somehow found out who started it. I was like, I don't know, because I didn't see it, but I guess people were telling the police like who started the fight, and it was a girl, fucking quick, cause I could hear it, cause I was standing outside at that point, and I could hear it, and then the guy, the old man who owned the theater at the time was like, y'all can go back in if y'all want, cause after the police, cause apparently the guy left who started the whole thing. Him and the guy who was fighting, who got thrown over me, he left, and I think the girl might have left. I don't know. I never saw the girl, but I did hear they said it was fighting over a girl. Somebody was telling police that, and the guy, it was surprising because the guy was like, "Y'all can go back and think." I guess he didn't want to give people refunds, so so he said, "Y'all go back in the theater." So we all went back in the theater. I ended up getting a better seat this time, like sitting on the edge of the aisle, like I wanted to, uh, an aisle seat, I should say. And but I sat way in the back, like next to, because I was one of the first people in. I was standing right by the door, so I walked there and just sat pretty much. Well, I sat two seats in front of the door that leaves out, like just in case I need to leave, I could just walk out quickly. And then they ended up starting the movie again. We finished it, but that shit. I mean, I've seen a few fights where they end up getting the people they have, like, but those places have like security and shit. Even some place like up here in near Chicago, they had armed security, they had guns, which I mean I can understand. You know, it is, especially on the south side or the west side. I totally am in agreement with that. But anyway, hope y'all enjoyed my reaction one. If you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Hit that bell. You'll be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.